manejan el inglés deben compartir en inglés. Si van a estar cambiando, a esas personas les recomendamos entonces que lo dejen en el audio original para que puedan hablar en ambos idiomas o en cualquiera de los dos idiomas que deseen hablar. Les recordamos que si hay algún problema con el audio de la interpretación, ya sea que la intérprete no se escuche o que se escuche entrecortado o algo así, por favor avísenos inmediatamente por medio del chat o verbalmente para poder abordar y corregir la situación. Si alguno de ustedes va hablando muy rápido, le vamos a dejar saber eh, primero por el chat. Usualmente enviamos una tortuga, que es como un icono universal, ¿verdad? De que por favor vayan un poco más lento, así no tenemos que utilizar palabras ni en inglés ni en español. Si usted se da cuenta que en el chat se envía un icono de tortuga y la persona que está hablando no se da cuenta, por favor, déjenle saber, ¿verdad? Que nos toca a todos ser responsables del espacio. Sí, y eso es todo, ¿verdad? Por ahora. Y muchas gracias. Le pasamos entonces el micrófono y el espacio de vuelta a Tami y al equipo de facilitación.
Thank you so much, JD and Petri. I'm going to add you back as an interpreter.
Thank you.
Update. That should do it. And then I will go back to sharing my slides. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited that this is, one of the major steps for HINAC 6, our scholarships. Just a few of the housekeeping for today. We ask that you all, if you're not speaking, be on mute through the slides in the process. Use the chat box if you have any questions. They'll be captured. And I thought I updated this. There are 4 different sections today, and there will be questions after each section. We will take 3 questions for each section, and then save the rest of the questions for the end to make sure that we have time to get through the presentation and get all the information to you first before we continue on. We don't want to get stuck in one section and not have enough time to finish the webinar. This is being recorded, so if you don't want your name to be on here, you can change your name and turn your camera off if that feels most comfortable. The slides and the recording link, along with other information, will be shared either later tonight or tomorrow morning once Zoom has downloaded everything and we've gotten all of the forms updated with all of the links. Please raise your hand if you need to be brought off mute, but please stay on mute so we don't have the background noise. So this year for HINAC 6, Deidre Speaks Johnson and I are the co-chairs of the scholarship work group. So we are excited about this process. The 4 sections that we will be talking about today is 1, providing a history of HINAC. A lot of you are new to the process, and so we want to let you know how some of the decisions that were made, how they were made, why they were made, and just to provide some background, because we are now on HINAC 6. So we started this in 2014. We are 10 years into this process and want to just provide that grounding. Then we will have the HINAC scholarship process is a 2-step process, and this started for HINAC 5. First, you must be nominated. So there's a nomination form that I believe it's Eric is going to provide that overview. And then after you are nominated, we will send you the scholarship form. And Deidre is going to provide an overview on the scholarship application. And then Cindy's going to provide some of the basic logistics for HINAC at the end. So a little bit of history about HINAC. Iowa was chosen for HINAC 1, or we called it the Grinnell Gathering. It was held in Grinnell, on Grinnell College in Grinnell, Iowa. Iowa was a focal point for activism in HIV criminalization in the US at that time. Nick Rhodes, some of you may know him and be aware of his story. His case was appealed before the Iowa Supreme Court. The oral arguments were in March of 2014. So we knew that a decision might come down in late spring or early summer. Iowa had also been advocating and educating the Iowa legislature for over 5 years about the HIV specific law, and 9 years on issues impacting the Iowa HIV community. Sean's cousin was on the search committee that had hired the new president for Grinnell College. That was Dr. Raynard Kington. He was an openly gay Black man and was the former deputy director and acting director of the National Institute of Health. Grinnell responded very enthusiastically about hosting the first HINAC. So a little bit about the Iowa history. The Iowa legislature passed the criminalization modernization bill in the last day of session, May 2014. Governor Branstad signed it on May 30th, and HINAC, the Grinnell Gathering, started on June 2nd. One of the best things that our bill, getting it modernized, it retroactively removed those convicted under 709C off the sex offender registry. The law, when it was signed at the end of May, wasn't supposed to go into effect until July 1st, but Senator Matt McCoy, our legislative champion, got permission from the parole board to cut the ankle monitors that Donald Bogardus and Nick Rhodes were required to wear after being convicted. So the last night reception, what a way to end that training academy. The first training academy was removing those ankle monitors. So why a college campus? Why did we choose a college campus? First off, it was economics. Sleeping dorm rooms and eating cafeteria food is a lot cheaper than hotels. And our goal was to bring as many people as possible via scholarship. And so that was the primary reason, and one of the reasons that we continue on. However, we learned throughout the Grinnell Gathering that there were other advantages of hosting it on a college campus. People got to know each other more. There was more time for networking. And so people left with a greater sense of camaraderie than most national conferences. You're sleeping in the dorm room, so there's not a TV or to go back to like in a hotel room. So we create events to provide people with an opportunity to meet as many other people as possible. Everyone ate meals together in the cafeteria, which felt more of a family feeling. In some of the conferences, there are people who have expense accounts, and then there are usually people living with HIV who do not. So this way, we are all eating together and sleeping in dorms together. That brings everyone on like the even playing field. We didn't have star speakers as we focused on PL/HIV advocates and allies doing the work, and is something that is a guiding principle for HINAC. The first speakers for the Grinnell Gathering were picked from people that we knew were going to be there in attendance, because we didn't have funding to bring in somebody specifically to speak. And we also, that way we also have speakers who stay with us throughout the entire HINAC. so that people can ask them questions, if not during the plenary or the breakout time, afterwards as well. And it's a greater chance of, like we said, the networking opportunity. So one of the things that you might have noticed is there are no dates on the announcement of when HINAC will be. We will not know until the end of September what dates HINAC will be, but if you fill out the application or mark your calendars and save the date of either May 31st through June 3rd or June 7th through June 10th. Those are our first requests from the college, but the college is waiting for their maintenance department to determine what buildings are going to be closed down for repairs, and which dorms are going to be shut down. So we will know in September. We don't know if it'll be the first part of September or the end of the month, but we will share that information as soon as we get it. So we ask right now that you save these dates. And it will be a Saturday through Tuesday this in 2025, because airline flights are cheaper on those days. So we're just trying to be as economically responsible as possible. Some people are wondering about COVID protocols. For HINAC 6, we are focusing, and our recommendations will be test before you arrive. It will be an honor system. We're not going to make you send in a test result, but ask if you are in any way sick, please stay home. Testing will be available while you're there if you're not feeling well. We recommend the most current vaccinations, and I hear that there is another one that is coming out, and recommend that you get it when you get your annual flu shot as well. Masking is recommended in share spaces. COVID is on the rise again. So we don't know what it's going to be in May or June of next year. And we will have color coding on our name badges for comfort levels. For if people want to do a fist bump, or if they are comfortable hugging, or want to stay 6 feet away. We want to honor the different comfort levels that people have. Now, having said all that, these guidelines are subject to change depending on the circumstances. We don't anticipate it, but in 2020, I don't think any of us anticipated of everyone being shut down. But as of right now, these are what the COVID protocols are going to be for HINAC 6. Some of the important dates that you will want to keep in mind. So today, August 27th, we are hosting the webinar for the scholarship process. And like I said, either later tonight or tomorrow morning, we'll have the nomination application and with all the recording links and everything in a document and shared with you all. And then the nomination process closes October 7th. So you must be nominated by October 7th. The scholarship process, so the deadline to turn in your scholarship will be October 21st. And we're leaving that 2-week window and opportunity, because if we had it at the same time, somebody could be nominated and then not have time to fill out the scholarship application. So we're building in that time in between there to make sure that everyone has time, who's nominated and wants to apply, has time to fill out the application. Scholarship status notification letters will go out January 7th. We don't want to give the news before the holidays of whether or not you do or do not receive a scholarship. So it'll be after the first of the year. We will be, with that, sending you a confirmation deadline, which is February 24th. And that is also the deadline that you must pay the registration fee by February 24th in order for us to secure your travel. And then there will be the What to Expect webinar sometime closer to either to the first part of May. And that will be announced many times through all of our networks. So just wanted to reiterate the dates that are important for the scholarship timeline. Nomination form closes October 7th. Oops, and I did not get this updated. We are saying 11 p.m. Eastern time, and I will get this updated before I send these slides out. That way there's no confusion on, is it midnight? Anyway, so 11 p.m. Eastern time, that form will close, and the scholarship form will close on October 21st at 11 p.m. Eastern time. And like I said, I will fix that before the slides are shared. So are there any questions about HYNAC history or those dates that I shared? Remember, there'll be more information about the nomination form, the scholarship process, and logistics, but just want to check if there are any questions about any of that information. And I can't see the chat, so Sarah staff would have to let me know if there's anything in the chat.
There are no questions in the chat at this time, Tammy.
All right, great. Well, then we will move on, and Eric is going to share information on the nominator form.
Hi, everyone. Eric Fleiter, he, him pronouns here. I am Communications Director for Cero Project, and I'm going to go over the nomination form because, as Tammy said, it's a two-step process for our scholarship, the nomination, and then your application. You can go to the next slide. So the overview, the reason why we're doing this is to avoid application burnout and also to avoid copy and paste letters of recommendation. So this is a nomination format. So you cannot hear me? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Okay, someone said that they couldn't hear me. I'll try to speak up a little bit. So the first step you'll do is you'll want to get someone from the community to nominate you using the nomination form, which is linked here. And then after that, the nominee will watch for an email link to the scholarship application. So whoever nominates you will send in their nomination form. And then when we get that, you'll be sent a link to the scholarship application. After that, you'll respond by filling out the scholarship application. And then the applications will be reviewed and scored. And then you'll be notified in January on whether or not you were awarded a scholarship. So just to keep in mind, a nominator needs to have current contact information. So be sure who's ever nominating you has your correct email address and phone number and any of that information that they may need. There's also a nomination guide that will be linked as well, which you can print out and fill out on your own and then hand it to whoever you want to nominate you. And it will help streamline their process so that they have all of the information right in front of them. Being nominated does not guarantee a receipt of a scholarship. So just because you're nominated doesn't necessarily mean you'll get a scholarship. Same thing with applications. If you apply for a scholarship, you have to wait and to hear from us to let you know whether or not you did receive one. All right. Next slide. So part one, we're asking that in your role as a nominator, so if you are going to nominate one of your colleagues, that you follow these guidelines and make sure that it's a part of your decision. So you cannot nominate yourself. This is not a self-nominating process. So for you to be for you to complete the form, you have to be nominating another individual to be considered. So it would be really great to like team up with a buddy and nominate each other, right? Again, I'll reiterate, this is a two-part process, one for the nominator and one for the person being nominated or the scholarship applicant. Next slide. So here are some of the guidelines as someone who is nominating people. You can nominate up to 3 different advocates. Any nominations received after the 3rd individual will not be considered. If there needs to be an edit to an original nomination, so if you change your mind and don't want to nominate the first person you nominated, please let us know that you have someone else that you would like to nominate and that you would like to unnominate someone. To do so, you would contact Tammy or Kamaria. Tammy Hott or Kamaria Laffrey to make that change. This is not to limit who applies or attends, but to prevent one individual from being asked to nominate a zillion people and feeling overwhelmed. Each advocate can only be nominated once, so your chances to receive a scholarship don't increase just because more than one person nominates you. So once you're nominated and you get to apply. You don't need 3 nominations, you just need 1. Next slide. So some things to keep into consideration with nominations. Priority consideration will be given to people who are living with HIV, people who have not previously attended HINACs 1 through 5. So new HINAC attendees are really encouraged. Our transgender communities, survivors of HIV criminalization, and advocates from Southern states. So anyone can apply for a scholarship. We're simply focusing on uplifting communities that are most impacted by the over-policing and criminalization of HIV. So we're not trying to leave anyone out, but there are people who are who experience are more vulnerable to HIV criminalization, and we really need them in the room. So the nomination form, you can contact those you are nominating ahead of time so that they are prepared to keep an eye out on their email. So like I said, once we receive your nomination, you will be sent an application link. Once you've submitted your nomination form, nominees will be contacted to then fill out the scholarship application. So the scholarship application will only be sent to the individual nominated to confirm that they will apply for the scholarship. Any applications received without previous nomination will not be considered or accepted. So please don't share the scholarship application link with others. If there is not a nomination form to go with the application will be omitted. Next slide. So all scholarship recipients will be required to pay for a registration fee for HINAC 6. Feel free to work with that person that you're nominating if they need assistance with fundraising for the fee. The fee will be due by February 24th. Also, as a nominator, ensure that the people that you're nominating are aware of the registration fee and that they will be contacted with a link to the scholarship application to fill out. They must respond to this to be considered for a scholarship. Next slide. So there's a question in the chat. Where will we get the nomination form? You will receive it when you get the slides. So it will be out there, and then also there will be social media posts and email blasts to provide you with those forms. How much is the registration? So registration fee, we'll have 3 different levels of scholarships. So a scholarship value is about $2,079. That would be for the cost of a full scholarship. So we've created 3 different levels of scholarships. So level 1 is a registration only scholarship. So with this scholarship, it's $100 registration, and that includes your registration and your lunch and dinner. So accommodations would be on your own. So level number 2 is a registration and lodging scholarship. So that fee goes up to $150, but that includes your registration, all of your dining, and your accommodations for lodging. Then finally, there's a level 3 scholarship, which is a full scholarship. It has a registration fee of $200, so less than 10% of the value of the scholarship. So $200, and that includes everything. It includes your registration, your dining, your lodging, and the most cost-effective transportation. So that could be an airplane. It could be a train. It could be a bus. I'll come and pick you up if need be. But we want to make sure that you get there safely. Let's see. So we have, if you've noticed, increased the recipient fees from $75 to $100, just to help cover some of the costs that we incur for each scholarship we award. So we're going to award 50 to 75 scholarships, and that will depend on which level of scholarships everyone applies for. Next slide. And there's a question, will we be able to select which level we would like to apply for? Yes, you'll select which level you want. But like I said, if you only get a registration scholarship, so level 1, you will be required to find your own accommodations and your own way to HINAC. So in the nominator form, the things that we'll need in that form are the first and last name of the person nominating, their title if they are part of an organization, also the organization's name. If they're not part of an organization, then just put not applicable or NA. We will need their email address and their phone number, and whether or not they've attended HINAC in the past. So that's just to help us with the nominator's familiarity of the training academy. Next slide. Oh, I don't think we really discussed that. So where's HINAC being held in 2025? So there hasn't been an official announcement because we're still waiting on dates, but we are holding it at North Carolina State University in Raleigh, North Carolina. Go Wolves. I think they're Wolves, right? All right, so the nominator form. Do you or your organization currently work in HIV decrim efforts? How do you know the person you're nominating? And then as the nominator, you'll be asked who you're nominating. So you'll need their first and last name, their email address, the state where they reside, and does their state have an HIV specific statute? So you can find those at the link that's here. The bit.ly link for HIV state law. Next slide. So please give us a brief overview of your nominee's advocacy experience. So they'll have to know who you are, and the work that you're doing is important. So you'll need to let us know why they should be selected to receive a scholarship. And then what can you do to assist the person you are nominating to work with them and effectively utilizing lessons learned from their experience after attending HINAC 6. So what are you going to do with the information? How can they help you utilize that info that you gain from being at HINAC 6? And then that's all you have to do for the nomination form. So you just hit submit and your job is done. So I mentioned the nominator guide. So in this link, you'll see it's a forced copy so that you can print it off. So that way we're not getting everyone else's answers on your copy. So if you do that forced copy, fill it out and give it to the person who's nominating you. So if you want to be nominated by someone, this is what it will look like when you do that. You just hit make a copy and it will bring up that document, and then you can fill it out or print it off or however you want to do it. And it just gives that person who's going to nominate you all of the information they should need for their nomination, for the nomination form. Thank you, Tammy. Next slide. All right, so like you saw in the nominator guide, this is all the stuff that is listed that you'll need to answer for the person who's nominating you. So I'll take any questions. I think I answered a few along the way, but are there any other questions? All right.
Okay, while people are typing in their questions, I just want to reiterate, we created the guide so that you make sure that the nominator knows how to spell your name, knows the email address that you open more regularly. We had some issues with old email addresses, and they didn't get the scholarship form. So it's really up to you as the person who wants to be nominated to provide that information with the nominator. We can't be responsible if we can't send you the information if we don't have a current email address. So strongly encourage you to make that forced copy, to print it off, to hand it to the nominator, plus answer the questions. They may not know if you've attended HINAC before. So we're hoping that will help you and help the nominator as well.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
The dumb question. Do we get nominated by the people in here? How does that work? It's my first time doing this.
Sure. So what you would do is find a buddy or a pal, someone who knows the advocacy work that you're doing or want to do, and you get them to nominate you. So it can be anyone in this room with the exception of Zero staff. It can be, someone at an ASO. It could be someone at the health department. It could be your friend around the corner, your neighbor. Just somebody who knows you and knows the advocacy that you're doing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Eric, there is a question in the chat about if you ask for a level 2 scholarship and you choose to drive, can you park on campus? And
yes.
Is there a fee?
So if you need to drive and park your vehicle on the campus, you absolutely can do that. There is plenty of parking. We'll just have to I know that you would need a parking permit unless there are assigned parking spots for us. I don't know that answer.
We're going to have that built into the budget, a certain percentage of parking spaces for those that may drive. So it should be covered. The parking should be covered with a registration or a scholarship.
So Melanie also asks, how would you register for lodging, dining, if you're paying for yourself or your organization is sponsoring you? That's a good question. Tammy?
We will have Whova set up to where you can register via Whova. That will be after the first of the year, but we'll make sure that once again on all of our social media, Google links, and hopefully the partner organizations will help promote that as well. So that will be available later on next year at the early part of 2025. All right, I think that was 3 questions. If you still have questions, please put it in the chat box and we will answer it at the end to make sure that we have enough time to get through the scholarship and logistics. Thank you so much, Eric. Great job. And Deidre, I believe you're taking over from here.
Hello, 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 friends. It is your favorite friend, Deidre Speaks Johnson. I'm National Programs and Strategic Planning Manager, normally in Virginia, but today I am in Atlanta, Georgia. So we want to share with you the scholarship application process. So Eric just went over if you are nominating someone. So there's 2 parts to this application. One, you must be nominated in order to get to the second part that we're about to talk about right now. So we can go to the next slide. And of course, this is going to be what your application is approximately going to be looking like after I go over this part. Those, I do want to be very clear as one of the co-chairs for this, don't take the scholarship process very lightly. We want to make sure that folks that have been selected for scholarships, we are asking, honestly, we are investing a lot of time in you, in the space and everything that will be going forward. We want you to know that you are required, highly, overly encouraged for you to be on the What to Expect webinar, which we will be having in May of 2025. There we will further discuss the logistics, what to pack, answer any further questions. And then we also will be required, and we're changing some things up where you'll be required to make sure that the registration fee is either the $100 or the $200, depending on the level of scholarship that you are awarded and or are applying for, which we'll go over in the next few slides, okay? And so we want to make sure that one, you know, that you need to attend the What to Expect webinar, May 2025. You're going to have to make sure that that $100 or $200 is paid for your registration fee. And all of that has to be done by a few deadlines. So we want to make sure that you know that. And please, please, please know you cannot self-nominate yourself. You have to be nominated. If you're completing this form by yourself all the way through, it will not be reviewed. Next slide, please. So we do have guidelines with everything. There's a whole lot, and with the same, and some of the information that Eric went over may be a little similar in the scholarship application, but please do not confuse the two. We want scholarship recipients and the nomination and people that are nominating people to know what to expect. Priority will be given to those that have not attended an HiNAC 1 through 5 before. Definitely people of lived experience, people living with HIV, transgender communities, survivors of HIV criminalization, and advocates from the southern states. Again, you should not be filling this out if you have not received a scholarship link to get to this point and cannot nominate yourself. Next slide, please. Very important to make sure that you follow all of the instructions to the application very carefully. And please, 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 please complete the entire application. It is so much better to make sure that you have some information in those, even if you don't know whatever you need to put in there, the words aren't right, put something versus nothing. That is going to help the nomination committee that are going to be looking through, excuse me, not nomination, but the selection committee. That's going to help them in your application move forward. So please, please, please take your time, read the application, read the instructions carefully, and complete everything. If you have any questions, the only question that is a dumb question is the one you never ask. And if you reach out to Tammy, and there's her contact, and when you get these slides, you'll be able to get it, but that's tammy.hott@sierraproject.com. And we will also make sure to put that in the chat if you have any questions. Again, if you're filling out this application, you have to be nominated in order to receive a notice to fill this form out, and make sure it is turned in by deadlines, which we will talk about in a second. And if applications are received by someone that has not submitted through the nomination process, your application will not be considered. It will not be reviewed. I will sound like a broken record because we really want to reiterate that several times. So next slide, please. More on the guidelines. So I know in the chat, Belinda had asked about the question about the registration fees. So we do have 3 different scholarship levels. We have level 1, which is the registration scholarship. That registration fee will be $100, which includes your dining, lunch, and dinner, which is your lunch and dinner that will be included. Now also, I kind of started, let me go back one step really quickly. I did start from the beginning about the investment that folks are, especially if you receive scholarships. There is investment, and may be free to some of us, but somebody is paying our bill to make sure that we get to this event. And the best way that I can, well, I won't go into that explanation, but just know that there's a lot of monies that are being invested in you, in your time, in your energy to be there. And there was a time where we did a $75 registration. Now we've moved that up to $100 to $200. We will give out 50 to 75 scholarships, depending on the funding that we have secured, and also the level of scholarships giving out as well. So please make sure you pay your fees, pay your fare, from a really famous movie that I've seen. So level 1, again, the registration scholarship, that fee is $100, which includes your lunch and your dinner. The second level is going to be your registration and lodging scholarship. That fee is $150, which includes all dining as well as the lodging. The third is the full scholarship. That registration fee is $200, which includes your dining, your lodging, and the most cost-effective transportation to get you to HINAC 6. Just a little thing, if you are nominating someone, maybe help to support them with the cost. If you are asking someone to nominate you, or you have received a nomination to go to the scholarship, fundraise, ask some folks for a few dollars here and there to support your cause of coming to HINAC. So those are just, I know some people have sold popcorn, people might do a fish dinner, whatever it is, but to help you to fundraise to get you there as well on your own. And these fees must be paid by the deadlines in order for your scholarship to fully be received. Next slide, please. If you are awarded a full scholarship, we want you to know that is including your transportation. But please know, we will cover the most cost-effective means of transportation. So that may be shared rides, that might be bus, that might be train, it may be air. So whatever will be the most cost-effective to get you there. We will not cover any checked baggage. This you will need to be responsible for yourself. And most airlines, if you use an airline, that is normally about anywhere from $35 to maybe $40 on up. If you're train or plane or, train or a bus or a shared ride, those may be next to nothing. The others, we will not cover transportation to and from your home or parking at the airport if you have to take in a plane or train or a bus. So any of your parking that is happening at the airport, train, or bus that gets you to HINAC 6, you will not be able to, we will not be able to cover that, and nor will we be able to cover any incidentals of food while you're in travel or en route. Next slide, please. Okay, and when you fill out this application, you do agree to a couple of things. Again, all of us are making investments of our time for the presenters that will be there, the folks that have sent in abstracts, the folks to get our funders to get us there, and even including all staff of all of our amazing partnering partners. So we are asking that you do attend, again, the What to Expect webinar, where we again will go into more detail about the any important information, logistics, your arrival itineraries, session overviews, anything, probably what to expect when you're coming the road to HINAC. It will be in that particular webinar, which is What to Expect. The entire training academy, including all sessions as well. So I can't make this very, clear. I know I'm sounding really dry and hum and drum, but we really want you to have, in the famous words of someone that I know, AIS, which is ass and seats. We really want you to be present, just because the information and the people that are there are providing valuable information for you to take back to your communities, but also to help with the work that you are working on right now towards eliminating criminalization in its all. So please, 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 please understand that we're asking you to attend the entire time of the Academy, all of the sessions, the What to Expect webinars. And these are very, very important to, one, your scholarship that you may receive, and then also for those that will be nominating you or other scholarships that may come in the future. Next slide, please. So a couple of things that we're going to need. Some of it you already know: your name, your address, your email. Please make sure it is a email that we can contact you for anything. It's a good email. Your phone number. We'll only call you if it's last minute changes, alerts, or something like that. If you do have an organization affiliation, and what type of organization you may be employed by. If you have participated in the scholarship webinar or viewed the recording that we will be sending out after today. We'll also be asking about demographic information, your HIV status, your gender identity, pronouns, sexual orientation, age range, and race. Next slide, please. We'll also be asking a few other things: what key populations that you self-identify with, your emergency contact, someone that we can contact if there's an emergency. If you do have any language access needs, as well as mobility access, which would include any interpretation like we're having today, because we do believe in language justice, and as well as disability and mobility justice. We have also other questions as far as attendee concerns that you may have, any advocacy related concepts, things that you would like to make sure that we are ensuring are there. If you have been personally charged or have been impacted by HIV criminalization or HIV specific law, and if you have also attended a HINAC before this one, and of course the most important part, who nominated you, so that we can make sure to link those up and make sure your nomination form will be along with your application. Again, if your nomination form is not received, if you haven't gotten one, then if you don't have your nomination, you will not get this part, but you must remember the person who nominated you and vice versa. Next slide, please. We also want to know, have you ever participated in AIDS Watch in DC? That normally happens in April. If you've ever attended another HINAC, and please put very much intention and thought in your responses. This is important. Separate yourself from the pack as to where you and what you have done, what you have learned, and what you have done to share that information with your community, as well as if you've ever heard of the Denver principles, what they mean to you. Provide one of the two of those sentences describing how it impacts your life and your advocacy. These are questions that you're going to be asked as far as a response. Please, please, please put thought into your questions. Have you ever heard of meaningful involvement of people living with AIDS or MIPA, or the greater involvement of people living with HIV and AIDS? What is MIPA and JIPA? As well as where have you seen this in practice, and what have you done, and what does it mean to you? And please provide one or two sentences describing how it impacts your life and advocacy. Again, please put thought into the responses of these questions. It's very important because this is where you are scored and the process becomes extremely competitive. So really think about it. If you have a friend, I know one of the things I've done is I've actually taken these questions, put it in a Word document, typed it up, sent it over to a friend for review to see how it resonates with them, if there's any changes or any editing that I have done. And it honestly could be a great thing to do with the person that nominated you. Next slide, please. Another thing is if you've ever attended HINAC before and what was something you did in your state with that information and what you took back home. Talk about what you did. This is where you're going to really describe yourself, as well as if you did attend, if you have attended HINAC and wasn't able to use the information, what you learned, what were the barriers that contributed to that? And if this is your first time attending, it won't be your last. You're going to try to get there hell or high water because it is an amazing experience. If this is your first time, what do you hope to gain from sessions that you can use and take back home? Again, each question, you will need to provide a bullet point list of up to 5 activities if you have done something in your state. It's very helpful, folks. I will be very honest as a reviewer and a person that has submitted. If you can put bullet points as to what you have done, it really helps the reviewers to see your application and really outline some things. So bullet points are really your friends, okay? If you don't have any ideas, if you don't, please enter NA if it does not apply to you, okay? Next slide, please. And then another question that you're going to be asked, again, don't think, okay, I should have started with this. When we get to the statements and the questions that you're going to be asked, if you're thinking the application ends at, I forgot the time, just right second. If the application, don't start this application 30 minutes before the deadline, because you're going to really need to put some thought process into it. You already have some of these questions after you have received your nomination from your nominator. Then you can be looking at these questions now and starting to respond to these. So please provide a brief paragraph, one paragraph stating and telling us anything else that you would like to share about your experiences that will help us understand who you are and why you should be selected for HINAC 6 Scholarship. This is your pitch, people, because you might be nick and nick with somebody and this might put your application over the edge. While we do encourage all people to apply for the scholarship, we do have a process that is designed to support new and emerging advocates, especially from communities that have been historically underrepresented in the U.S., HIV and policy and advocacy. We know who they are, but if you don't, we can outline that later in the question section. Next slide, please.
Just to let you know, Deidre, the interpreters are asking you to speak a little bit slower.
Yes, thank you. I didn't see that. Thank you. Okay, and so then you will be asked to indicate the most cost-effective transportation option for you to get to and from Raleigh, North Carolina, where the conference will be held. Please keep in mind that flights will go to the closest airport to Raleigh-Durham, located in Raleigh, North Carolina, and is 11 minutes away from North Carolina State University. For travel arrangements, we will need your full date of birth, your name, and gender as it is printed on your government state ID issued, your state identification. If you're not flying And within driving distance, you will be asked if you will be interested in doing ride sharing. And if so, if we can connect you with other advocates. And then if Amtrak is available in your area, then we will make sure to take care of that as well. Next slide, please. You reached it. You've gotten to the end. You can now hit what? The submit question. That's it. And you're done. And I think our next slide is any questions. I did see some as we were moving, as I was speaking.
Deidre, I have them right here if you'd like me to read them to you.
Yeah, I see. Is lodging? Oh, yes, please, Kevin, if you could.
Yeah, Lamont wants to know, is lodging on campus for all regardless of whether you receive scholarships or not?
And the answer to that is, from my understanding, yes, because we do have, okay, Tammy, I see you coming off mute.
The way I would answer this is if you receive a scholarship, yes, the only lodging that we will cover is the dorm on campus lodging. There are hotels. If you do not receive a scholarship, if you are registering on your own, you can get lodging off campus. But if you receive a scholarship, you must, the only lodging we will pay for is on campus. So if you want outside campus lodging, then you would apply for the level 1 scholarship.
So, Deidre, your next question is from Melanie. If we are planning to submit an abstract, should we get someone to nominate us so we can be there to present?
And the answer to that would be yes, of course. Unfortunately, we do not have scholarship. Do not allow for not allow is not the right word, but we do not pay for presenters of abstracts to come. And if not, that would be on your own. But yes, we highly recommend, especially if you are a person of lived experience, if you have experienced HIV criminalization, have not attended, or are priority populations, especially if you're in that and submitting. So yes, please have someone nominate you to submit that application.
The next question in the chat is from Teresa. If you're nominated, if you've nominated some or been nominated, where will you receive the link to the scholarship? If it's already been said, I apologize, I missed that part.
That is quite all right. What will happen is the nominator will send in the nomination form that seems a little, that will ask a few of the same questions that were a part of the beginning of the scholarship application. Once that nomination form has been received, then you will receive a link to the scholarship application to fill out, but you must be nominated in order to get the scholarship application.
And if I could add there, Teresa, that is why we have the guideline, the nominator guideline form, so that you ensure that the nominator has your correct email address. We ran into issues last time that the nominator did not have a current email. So it is up to you to provide the nominator with your current information. So once we receive that nomination, we will email you the scholarship form. And yes, I see Sanjay has typed in, will the nomination form be sent to those on this call to give our nominator?
And in the slides that you will receive from this call, you will see the nomination guide that Eric spoke about towards the latter part of the slides that he reviewed. That's where they would click on there and they would take care of that part. And again, they need to start with the nomination process in order to get the scholarship. And or if you would like to nominate somebody, that's where you would need to go, is go to the nomination form first before we get there.
Teresa, I see that you put in, you nominated someone and was nominated but have not received the link for the scholarship. Neither the nomination form or the scholarship form has been shared. So I don't know what form you filled out, but it was not for HINAC 6. That has not been made available yet. So the nomination form with all the links from this webinar will be shared after we get the recording link. And I don't know, Wahida shouldn't have had it either. It has not been shared with anyone yet.
Yeah.
So whatever you have, delete it. It will not be, yeah, I don't know what you have, but that's not the form that will be looked at.
Right.
And
I
then
I see Ruby had put a question of will there have a second opportunity to have this training again before 2025? We will actually be sending out this recording link. That's why we have this session being recorded right now. And you are more than welcome to go through the slides and or listen to the recording of this call, and we will also be posting that on our YouTube as well. So you will have the opportunity to see that. It will be sent in several different ways.
all right, well, I think we're at the 3 questions, and I want to make sure that we have time for Cindy to do the logistics, and we will capture any other questions that were asked in the chat after we hear from Cindy and the logistics. Thank you, Deidre.
Thank you. Cindy Stein with the Sarah Project, she, her, they. And I'm going to start with logistics overview. Registration is a tiered fee for scholarship recipients, which includes training materials and meals as follows, and based on the scholarship level. So dinner, Saturday on arrival, you have dinner. Sunday and Monday, all meals. And then on Tuesday, you have breakfast and then a box lunch. And no one, this is really a strict, no one under 18 is permitted to attend HINAC 6 or be on the campus. Yes, I'll slow down. Next slide. Okay, lodging. This is the suite style. Lodging includes 3 nights, Saturday through Tuesday. And this year, thanks to the costs of lodging at NCU and NCSU, each person will have a single room within a 4 or 5 bedroom suite with a shared bathroom and a shower. And we will know what style of suites we have by the end of September. But this is sort of a blueprint of what the suites look like. Next slide, please. Okay, each scholarship participant will receive a bed, which of course they're going to lower it because the campus beds are really high up, with extra long mattresses, a wardrobe or a closet, a desk and chair, technology locker or a dresser to put your equipment in there, a shared micro fridge, which is really important because if anybody needs to refrigerate their medicine, there'll be a refrigerator available, and a waste and recycling bin. Next slide. HINAC logistics overview with a real ID. And I know this date keeps on getting pushed back, but it's real important that effective is set for May 7th right now, 2025. If you fly commercially or you need access to federal facilities, you'll either need a real ID license or an ID or any other thing that's acceptable. And if you go, you'll be able to go on the identify, document, but the 3 that are very important are your driver's license, which should be a real ID license, and your passport or a passport card. Next slide. Okay, so a summary of what we've all been talking about is under that, the value of the 3 scholarships is around $2,000. And we will ask for the following commitment to the following to honor the process of receiving the scholarship. Number 1,
Cindy?
I will attend every plenary. Number 2, I will strive to attend every breakout session. Number 3, I will respect the rules and guiding principles set forth by the HINAC EC in regards to contract with the college and the partner organizations. I understand if I receive a scholarship, I will be sleeping in a dorm room I understand if I receive a scholarship, I will be eating at the campus cafeteria. And if you receive a scholarship and you do not show up, that has kept somebody else from getting a scholarship, and you're going to be in jeopardy of the next not receiving a scholarship for the future. And that's really important, that if you're going to make a commitment, make sure that, when you do fill out that scholarship and you get accepted, that you really truly can make that date, and that you'll be able to make it. And if you find that you can't make it in time, make sure that you contact somebody to let them know, because it will give another person an opportunity to be able to attend. Next slide. So that's it. Any questions or comments? And of course, you'll be getting more information as time gets closer and we get more information. But it's a very exciting time.
Presenters, there was one question that we didn't get to from Deidre's section. Olga wants to know if applicants will be able to attach a resume on the scholarship application.
No, there's no space where you will need to upload an application or any attachments that will be asked for in this nomination. In the scholarship application.
And I would add to that, Deidre, one, we need you to use the form and answer the questions as we have them. The review, there's already a lot that the reviewers have to review. So using the format that we have makes it consistent and easier for reviewers to do their job. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we will stop the recording. Let's see, where's that at on here now? And thank